This is Avara, and I'm a clinical application coordinator for Phoenix area. And in this presentation, we're going to go over making and editing reminder taxonomies and terms. Our learning objectives will be to review the process for creating clinical reminders. We're going to demonstrate how to create taxonomies under the new PXRM 2.0, and we're going to demonstrate how to add taxonomies to terms. So we're going to start with the pieces. Who is the reminder for? Is it related to a certain sex? Is it related to age, or is it related to a disease? How often should the reminder be due? One time only, or every time the patient is seen? What will turn off this reminder? One type of item at a particular lab test, multiple types of the same item with many different lab tests, multiple types of different items. Is it a multiple type of different items? So you're going to have lab tests and then CPT codes or education codes. Is this data already available as a finding type, or do you need to create a computer finding? If you need a cohort of disease for a reminder, you will also going to need to include the IHS SNOMED computer finding and the SNOMED subset. If a SNOMED subset is not available, you will need to enter that request into the RPMS feedback request page to have one made. If multiple similar items are used to satisfy the reminder, for example, labs, the reminder logic will become A or B or C or D or E or F, with the A, B, C, and D, and F represents the different types of labs that would satisfy that reminder. If any of those items is found in the term, it will be that reminder or that term will become true, and that will satisfy the reminder. You can create terms also of multiple similar items that are not the identical finding type. For example, drug class and generic drug, taxonomies, and a SNOMED computer finding. You can also create terms that have conditions. In this example, I have a single item of HGB-A1C greater than 69. I also have another single item with a condition of systolic blood pressure greater than 139 and diastolic blood pressure greater than 89. Here are the reminder terms that you can use. And the only one you cannot use is the VM, which are vital measurement that's only used by the VA. So to create a reminder, let's look at the activity level screening. Our reminder will be done yearly on patients 18 and older. If have a problem or diagnosis diabetes, then it's done every visit. The resolution of this reminder will be a documentation of activity level as a health factor. Reminder 2.0 has introduced a new method for creating taxonomies. You can import from a host file, you can paste from a CVS file, or from another taxonomy. And you can also, theoretically, could import from a CVS file that is found on the web. However, I have not had success with bringing a file from a website and bring it into my RPMS. It searches for a code within the taxonomy and a simple view of who has added that taxonomy. So let's create a taxonomy using the paste from CVS file, and this is the easiest way I've found to do this. In the taxonomy menu, choose Add Taxonomy. And this is a taxonomy menu that you need to go in. It's the PXRM Taxonomy Management. So in this example, I'm going to go over the Diabetes ICD codes. You're going to need a naming convention. In mine, I use Phoenix, so whenever I create any taxonomies, I always start my taxonomy with my prefix, which is Phoenix, PHX. The name and the class are mandatory field. Even though the patient data source is not mandatory, you will have errors if that is not put in there. So you have to put the patient data source. You can put a question mark to see what are the different types of data source, and those basically are your PCC encounters, your inpatient encounters, radiology, problem lists, etc. And then once you're done with putting the data source, putting the class local, and then you're going to save this, Then what you're going to do is you're going to open the Excel Add Codes. So hopefully you have created the Excel sheet, and we're going to have some hands-on on how to do this. But you create your Excel sheet first, and you put all the codes on your Excel sheet on each column. The first column is always the name of your taxonomy, which is free text. Column B will always contain the code, and in the next slide I'm going to show you the codes that you need to put in there to designate this either is an ICD-10 or it's an ICD-9 or it's a CPT or HCPCS or whatnot. So you'll have that in the next slide. Then on each row will contain the code range for the codes under the remaining columns. So if I have a range, I'm going to go ahead and put those range on each separate column. Then you're going to save this document as a CVS file, which is comma delimited. And you'll see in this example, I'm going to select CVS. These are the abbreviations that you need to use from the coding system in order to create your taxonomy. So these are the abbreviations you're going to use on column B. So if we go back, that is what you're going to populate here to designate the type of codes you're going to be using. So once you save it, you're going to open it with the Notepad, and you're going to right-click on the document and then select Notepad. Then you're going to maximize your Notepad window, and you're going to copy the text in that window. So go back to your taxonomy and make sure you save and exit. So you're not going to put any code yet. Then you're going to find your taxonomy on the list, and you're going to select Import. Then you're going to select PA for paste and copy, and then you're going to copy and paste the codes from your Notepad, as you can see here. And then do you want to browse the list? Always select yes. And then it's going to review the list, and then it says, do you want to save it? Go ahead and select yes. Verify that all the codes were imported. So the next thing we need to do for our reminder is we need to create the term. In our example, we're going to create one for activity levels under the health factor. You're going to need the term for diagnosis for the diabetes. So we're going to need to create a taxonomy with a snowman computer finding. And then in the term menu, you're going to choose reminder term. So here's creating the term for diabetes diagnosis. So you're going to go in the term. You're going to use your naming convention. You're going to add your set of codes, those taxonomies that I created. I'm going to add that here. Within that term, you're going to go ahead and add another finding for your computer finding, which is your snowman. Add that in there. And then within the SNOMED computer finding, you're going to go ahead and populate the computer finding parameter with diabetes, PXRN diabetes, and this is the SNOMED subset that comes from national. So what you're going to see at the end, you're going to see the computer finding. That's where we went ahead and populated a computer finding parameter with diabetes. And then you're going to have your taxonomies for the set of codes. Then the next part, or the next piece I need to create is the term that contains my activity level. And here's an example of my activity level. I create that as a local term. And then I add all the findings that have to do with the health factors that I want to satisfy my reminder. At the end, I should have 4 findings. I should have active, inactive, somewhat active, or some activity, and then very active. This concludes our presentation on taxonomy creation. If you have any questions, please contact your area CAC for more information or your local CAC. And I hope this was helpful, and thank you for watching. Bye now.